Hi, my name is Richard. I'm a founder of SYMBOLSEND, which is an app for non-verbal individuals. The app was created mainly because of my own experiences with my son. My son is 7 years old and is autistic. Now, if I go back to why I came up with the idea, uh, I was at work one day and my phone started going in my pocket. I looked at it and it was full of messages sent from my wife's phone, and it was letters, numbers, grammatical symbols, just a whole mismatch of everything, and it didn't make any sense to me. And the phone started ringing. My wife was on the phone, and she said, "Really sorry, Ruben, my son, got hold of my phone. He wanted to send you a message." So for me as a parent, I suppose in a bit of emotional way, you think, oh, well, okay, if he wants to speak to me clearly, but he can't, he wanted to reach out, he wanted to communicate, but his autism, I suppose if that's the right way of putting it, didn't let him. So I knew he was using PEX symbols at school, and that's what he'd been encouraged to do. And for those people who don't know, PEX is a visual-based language. So I give the example of a cat and a dog. A picture of a cat will mean a cat, a picture of a dog will mean a dog. A picture of a glass of water will probably most likely mean a drink. It's, like I say, a visual language, which is very simplistic in its approach, but is very easy to understand. Then the way it is used is symbol. As it advances, symbols are used in sequences in order to create sentences or phrases, which can then be shown to somebody to express a need. So go back to my son's messages. I quickly thought about it and thought, well, he's clearly wanted to reach out to me. He hasn't been able to do so. I'll just go online and I'll find an app that does it. I'll find something that allows him to use his symbols. And it was actually quite shocking, really, that there wasn't anything out there that actually allowed him to use his symbols, which is his language, remotely. He couldn't send me a text message, if you will. He couldn't vocalize what he wanted easily. So it made me think about it, and I thought, well, I'll do it. And without sounding quite cliche and being one of those people goes, oh, I saw a need for it, so I went and did it myself. But that was what I did. I sat on the idea for a little bit because, like anything, starting any business or starting any idea, I didn't really know what to do about it or where to go with it. So I had to really do some research and figure out the best way of tackling the issue. I contacted Toby Dynavox, who are a provider of the board maker symbols, which are used in British education system and are used by the NHS. That was clearly important to me because it sounds like a silly thing to say, but you change the symbols, you change the language, and I wanted the symbols that were being used within the app to be what people use on an everyday basis anyway. Otherwise, to a degree, you're expecting somebody who with additional needs to learn a new language, if you will. And that wasn't what it was about. I wanted it to be, I suppose, in a way, call me society. I wanted society to change to suit them rather than them having to change to suit us and what was going to be easy for us. So I had to contact Toby Dynavox, and again, they liked what I was doing and they agreed to let me use their symbol set. And then the hard work really began with getting the app created. I found James at Field Design in Goldsborough, and he's been fantastic. He himself is a former special educational needs teacher, so he understood what we were doing straight away and understood the need of what it was we wanted to achieve. So he put his input in, his thoughts in, and we really come up with a plan of how we were going to create this app. So what the app does is it will allow a user to use these symbols to create a sentence, create a phrase, and like any other messaging app, they can then send that through to their contacts, if you will. So for me, Ruben could send "Hello, Daddy, how are you?" in his symbol format. That will come. The app will convert that to me, and I receive it as a text message format, so I don't have to decipher it. Again, all about ease. I can reply back to him with my text message, and it will convert that back into his symbols. Again, it's a translation. It's a translation app, and that's the best way of describing it. So it has been a long process to get to where we are, and like anything, there's been quite a lot of fixes that had to be put in. And I suppose when we come across a hurdle, what we think actually somebody may struggle with, that we change it. We don't want someone to have to make do or to struggle. We try to make the app as simple as possible, so that it can be used across the board for as many people as possible. The app is due to be launched within the coming days on the Android devices, followed by Apple devices a few weeks later, and it's also going to be available on Kindle, just because we wanted to again cover the board with what devices are out there and what people will use, which has been again important. We don't want to have anybody to have to buy specialist equipment in and be over the top in costs for that. So we purposely keep our prices low as well. We start at £3 a month, which, when you think about it, is the price of a coffee for somebody. And for that £3, you can actually start talking, if you will, and communicating with someone remotely who uses symbols. Whereas at this moment in time, there isn't anything out there that allows them to do it. So, in terms of where we go from here, you know, I'd really encourage people to download the app. It's something that we really want to become the norm. We don't want it to be seen as a novelty for anybody or a gimmick. We actually want to be seen as quite a important aid in people's lives. This is something we really want to grow, and as the customer base grows, it allows us to implement more into the app. So, you know, it's all about giving back. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, you know, we take money and we're exploiting a need. It couldn't be further from the truth. It's putting that money that comes in from that is going to be reinvested into the app to increase features to actually allow us to target other people's needs. For example, we want a video function within the app that, you know, it's all right receiving a text message, which is fantastic if that's never been sent before, but then let's incorporate video into that as well, so you can actually physically see somebody, like a Zoom call or a Skype call, but let's use those symbols within that as well. This last year has shown everybody that the need to communicate couldn't be more important, and I think everybody across society, whether we've got additional needs or not, has seen that it is important to do so. So we're basically wanting to have a bit of an aid to allow somebody to do it. So in terms of how this will help a wider range of people, if we focus first of all on the non-verbal user, who was our initial target, we always encourage people to form relationships and friendships. Like for my son and his friends and peers at school, those relationships, I suppose, in a degree, stop at the school gates, because once he leaves school, and especially it's more of a case with someone of a teenage age, once they leave school, if they're non-verbal, they don't necessarily have that relationship can't be carried on beyond school, because you're now in two different locations, and because PECS is of a visual nature and it is a face-to-face method of communication, that can't be carried over to locations until now. With the use of the app will actually allows that remote use, so friends can stay in contact overnight on a social level, on a education level, if we talk about teachers wanting to send things to their pupils, teachers can keep in contact with pupils if they're working from home for whatever reason. Healthcare professionals contact patients and keep in contact or express a need if it is one from a remote location, again, rather than necessarily having to visit the doctor's surgery or physically going to see the teacher. In terms of families and wider families, grandparents who might live away, aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, whoever lives away, who haven't got that direct contact and that face-to-face contact on a day-to-day basis to be able to have those relationships and have those discussions. Using the app will actually allow that for the first time. I always say we don't think twice about sending a text message to our mates and saying, "Hi mate, how are you doing?" But for somebody who is non-verbal or doesn't have that level of understanding of written language, that is impossible. So the app is knocking down those barriers, if you will. It's allowing people to have that remote communication, which at the moment isn't there. If somebody's already got limitations in their life, why limit something else on them? Give them an aid to allow them to thrive, and give them an aid to allow them to engage with society and be included in society. I think we're always evolving what we do and creating more and more wonderful things. But I think for the special needs community, things aren't necessarily catered for them the same as what will be catered for us. So why not use what technology is already in place to cater for them and allow more inclusion with ourselves. If you wanted to use the app or download the app, our website is SYMBOLSEND.app. So it's .app, not .co.uk.com, and it gives a lot more information on the website about us, and there's also a link on the website to download the app when it's available. And on there you can also sign up to the newsletter, where we give further updates about any changes that we're making or any enhancements we're making, etc. We're also on Twitter and on Facebook. Again, @SymbolSend is our handle, and we're on there, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that anybody should have. Again, email addresses are on there, but it's info@symbolsend.app, and like I say, anything that somebody wants, we're more than happy to answer any questions, because it is a big step for somebody to download something like this and actually try using a new aid. So we want to make this process as simple as possible and encourage everyone to do so.